like you have to have the courage then to follow that. So it's
Follow
there,
through.
like courage and trust go together, and courage is very more masculine and trust is more feminine. So it's like when we
Mm.
cannot balance
Ooh,
ourselves, that's where we are out of alignment. And so you need both of those.
yeah. Unleash the untapped potential within you as we dive fearlessly into the realms of healing, personal growth, self love, and uncharted territories of the human experience. Join us as we navigate relationships, conquer career and business milestones, and explore the depths of spirituality. This isn't just a podcast, it's a manifesto for the resilient, the ambitious, the soul searching women and men of today. Grab your coffee and let's dive in with Beyond the Surface. Welcome back to another episode here on Beyond the Surface. And today I am joined by the intuition queen, my new dear friend Mara, and I am so excited to dive into this really special conversation with you today. And I really appreciate you being here. I'm excited to have connected. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's a honor, really.
So, I always like to start by giving you space to introduce more of who you are and what you do. And that's loaded, but whatever comes up, whatever feels important to share in this moment about who you are and what you do, which is so all encompassing.
Okay, so I am a energy alchemist and catalyst for change, a life coach, psychic, and healer. And I help entrepreneurs and creative souls to free themselves from any kind of limitations and tune into their frequency of abundance. When I say limitations, I mean mindset, emotional wounds, energy leakages, or anything that is stuck in our body and in our energy and aura, and that maybe we are unable to see. Even if you're a person that maybe works a lot, sometimes I work a lot on myself, and I sometimes need someone else to kind of reflect to me what I feel I can't gather. And so this is what I do. And with my psychic abilities, it helps me to really go dive deeper and really see what it is that wants to be brought to the surface, and then help my clients to release whatever it is that they need to release, and give them that boost of energy and confidence in themselves to really take the next step and level up in whatever they want to level up to.
I love it. And I think we truly need just so many people stepping up in our gifts, our natural gifts. Because I feel like it's just what we're here to do is also just be a mirror for other people. And when we can really step up in our gifts and these abilities that we have, we get to kind of light that torch and we get to be that light for people. And yeah, I'm just so appreciative of the work that you do. And obviously we all have a backstory in how our journeys come to be and why we do the things that we do. And I'd love for you to just share, yeah, maybe the question is, what was it that brought you into this work? Or yeah, we'll start there.
It could look like it was something by chance, but I think that my soul was obviously directed me to that. So I'm Italian, and I moved to London when I was in 2009, and I always felt very restricted because of the way my family was. In in my head, when I was younger, there was such a bright future ahead of me, and I could do so many things. But because of the way I grew up, and also the kind of people I was hanging around, they weren't bad people, but just I wasn't surrounded by inspired and visionary people that
Mhm.
thought that you can actually create something better. Yeah, the kind of usual, let's go to work and find this and have a family, all of that. And I found it too boring for me. So when I moved to London, which was a dream of mine, before I left, a friend of mine said to me, "Look, I've been reading this book, and it reminds me so much of you. Please read it now that you're leaving." And that book was The Secret. And I started
Mm.
reading The Secret, and I was like, oh my God. And so from that moment, I started to get so into self development and read books about it and watch videos. I was literally obsessed with it. And the reason why was because I was using whatever techniques they were talking in the book or whatever, and I was trying to push myself because when I moved here, I couldn't find a job that I wanted. I used to work in advertising when I was in Italy, but here I kept coming second position, and at some point I just had to give up and find whatever I found. And so I wasn't happy. I wasn't making enough money. I wasn't doing a cool job and enjoying the cool London. I was doing everything but that. I was having fun, but I wasn't happy. I knew I wanted more, and I knew I could have more. And so I was doing all of the things that they were telling in the books and stuff. And without realizing, I started to suggest those things to my friends and people that I was working with, and people started to go, but why don't you become a coach? And I was like, me? No. I mean, like, look at those people like Jack Canfield and Tony Robbins, they're millionaires. And they're like, yeah, but you don't have to become a millionaire. And so that thought kind of stayed with me. And at some point, I was like, actually, yeah, I could. But a little bit at the
Mhm.
beginning, I didn't have the money to save to do a course. And then I got, kind of carried away from life. And, I started to make money, and I started to want to do the things that everybody was doing. I was hanging around with people that had a lot of money. And so I kind of wanted to do some of the things they were doing. And then, but I always had this thing, oh, one day I will become a coach. One day I will become a coach. And then my dad passed away in 2015. And that kind of really scared me because
Mm.
I went to surprise him for his 70th birthday on the 27th of March. And he was gone 6 months afterwards. And to me, that was like,
Oh,
what the hell happened? But it
yeah.
scared me in a good way because I realized that, we put off so many things thinking that we have time and thinking that nothing is going to happen to us and nothing is going to happen to the people around us, nothing is going to happen to the environment around us. But you never know. And so the year after, I signed up to the coaching academy that I went to, and that's where my journey started for real.
Wow. It's so interesting. Hearing you talk about, I mean, you didn't share that with me before, but hearing you say that, and I'm so sorry about your dad passing. And um it's it's interesting what loss and death does to us. It has this way of really like waking us up, for
Yeah.
lack of better words. It really wakes us up to this reality of just, it's I know cliche to say, but you stop sweating the small things.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's also still this piece, though, I feel like, and I'm curious to see, with so many years have gone by too. And I've experienced so much loss in my life. And actually, funny enough, like in 2015, I lost my grandmother, and who was like my second mom. And that was like my big year. That was like my catalyst year, was 2015 as well, because I just immediately was like, why am I why am I saying that one day I'm going to do this? Like, why
Yeah.
can't I do this right now? Why do I have to wait until I'm what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to wait for anything. And And I love that that's, that was also kind of like that catalyst for you as well.
Yeah. Well, for me, it really put things into perspective and narrowed my
Yeah.
focus in a way that had never happened before.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back and I was a different person because obviously I was heartbroken. And so what I did,
Of course.
I just went straight into work and I just needed something not to think about that. And it helped me the fact that I had nothing that, because my parents kept saying they were coming to see me. They never did.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom came afterwards, but my dad never managed to come see London or see where I was and anything. So there was nothing related to my dad here, and so that was helpful. I didn't go home for quite a while
Mm,
because I just couldn't. I didn't go home for Christmas. Not that I do that every year because I still don't do it, but I was I couldn't. So what I did, I literally just focused on work, and I will work overtime and make sure I did everything because I wanted a promotion. I wanted more money because at that point, that idea, I need to sign up, but I need time, first of all, to find the right school, and also I need time
mm-hmm.
because right now I can't do anything else. And then I
Yeah.
stopped being surrounded by people that weren't necessary friends, because what happens when you losing someone and you change the way you are because you're heartbroken and you need time for yourself and you need people that really really love you next to you that can support you, you start to realize that your best friends are not necessarily your best friends, and some other people might be
Mm,
your actual best friends. So what happened for me was that
yeah.
I had a lot of friends and nobody knew how to deal with me because I'm always the fun one and the one that you can talk about everything, that I always has something positive to say about that, and I was completely shut off. And
Yeah.
so that started to make me change that perception. And then when I started to study, or my course started, I literally stopped going out
Mm-hmm.
completely. I was so
Yeah.
passionate about what I was studying that I was coming home from work, I would have dinner and then just be on the books. And weekends,
Yeah.
oh no, I can't go out. I need to study. I need to study. I need to study. And I would just go out with two or three friends that I really felt that they had my heart. Everybody else didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And and at that point, that's when I was like, okay, this is what I want from my life. No more fake friendships, no more fake people. If that means having to stay with just one best friend next to me for the next 5 years until I recreate a community of people that actually really, really want to support me and love me for the person that I am in all of the good and the bad, good. Otherwise, I can stay by myself. And I actually learned a lot in that period because I lost a lot of friendships that I thought were actually
Yeah.
really good. But it kind of gave me that laser focus, like this has to happen now. And it did, because I graduated in 2017. In 2018, I went to the States to do a seminar with Jack Canfield. I met a lot of people that
Wow.
were doing what I want to do. I'm still in touch with them. And the year after, I started working with a coach. I left my job and I started everything. I started my podcast and everything started to grow from there. So it's that laser focus that I never had before, that I'm always thankful to my dad because it helped me to become the person that I always wanted to be.
Mm, yeah. And that I feel like too is a piece that we can do more often, is that like clean up house, or you just do that kind of evaluation of where you're at, because it's so easy to also get caught up in the day to day. And a year is even very dramatic, but even 3 months can go by,
Yeah.
and in the back of your mind, you've been saying you want to do this one thing, and you just, the day to day happens and you completely are lost track of time. And I think that piece around just like priorities is so huge. It actually reminds me about when I went through that process of writing my book. I wrote it in 3 months because I did the exact same thing that you did. It was, I am not, all my spare time goes into me writing this book. And that's all that I cared about. Weekends, coming home after work, that was my sole focus. I was so like immersed into this experience of writing my book. And that's also why I was able to write it so quickly, is because my priorities were, this is number one. This is the top priority.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just requires, like, even for a short period of time, but the gain then ends up becoming so much more than we probably ever imagined.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think that,
Mm.
when we go through certain things, because we change so much from the inside, obviously you start to look around and be like, okay, wait, this is not what I had set up myself to go to be surrounded by. How did I get here?
Mm, yeah. And so with that, like, how has been the journey then, having your business and doing the work that you do, being able to really like continuing that process of like knowing ourselves, and that like unfolding of that, like how has that been, and how has that shown up for you in your business and supported you
Well,
in your business probably too?
yeah, well, it's been a lesson, a constant lesson in learning to understand myself and what was limiting me in every kind of way. I think that having your own business is the biggest inner work you could possibly do without really having to do inner work, because you are by yourself, and you can have a team and whatever, but that's you. It's kind of like an extension of you. Everything is your
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. Your fears are your responsibility. Your fears are also those things that will keep you from doing the amazing things that you think you're going to do. And so
Yeah.
the moment I left my job and I had no income coming and all of that, it's when everything started to come up. So I grew up with a narcissistic mother, and my relationship with money showed that. And I had absolutely no
Mm.
idea what that meant. I knew about money mindset. I had done some work because I had realized, when you start studying law of attraction and all of that, money is always the first thing they talk about. Also, because if you want more, you have to make more and all of that. So I
Yeah.
had done some kind of work, and I had seen the things that were holding me back, like, money don't grow on tree and those kind of things. um but there's always like a layer deeper, or always something always a layer deeper and deeper and deeper. And so when I started my business, all of those layers started to come up. And it showed in the way my business went. I went from, okay, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to do this. I started it, and then I had to get a part-time job. And then I was fine and I was doing very well. And then I decided, well, my soul decided it was time for me to move to Italy. And I knew there was a bigger purpose for me to go there. I knew it in my head. I had to work on
Mm-hmm.
my ancestral line. Something was saying that. The truth was that I had to heal the relationship with my mom, because I did not realize how the fear that I had of her when I was about 16 years old, that she would always sabotage
Mm-hmm.
my life, came back to me. Like the moment my boxes landed in Italy, my mom kind of started to go crazy at me. And bear in mind that when I moved
Mm.
back, I was 39 and I was already doing what I was doing for a few years. I was a different person. I had the tools, but I was shitless afraid of her. And I was like, this cannot
Oh
be
wow.
possible, because I couldn't work anymore. Like my business at that point was going so well. I was literally like signing up clients after like a 30 minutes consultation. They would be like, yeah, I want to work with you for 6 months. Like those were the kinds of situations.
Yeah.
I still kept my part-time job because that was helpful. Considering the first time around, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this time I'm just gonna do it better. And I would wake up with clients signing up for sessions. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. My podcast was going strong. And I landed back in Italy thinking, oh, I'm just going to enjoy the sun and this and that. In Italy, it's better. I can go to the beach. Some of the places, they don't talk so much. Well, they talk a lot about COVID, but, if you're on the beach, it's fine. And it just didn't happen because my nervous system was completely in shambles and my energy obviously wasn't there. So with time,
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't, like, everything that I had done up until that moment, showing up online, doing all the things, just stopped working altogether. And I started feeling
Wow.
afraid because obviously, once you stop working with your clients, then money stopped coming in. And my mom was
For
going
sure.
crazy, completely crazy. And I had to learn to I always had boundaries very clear. I always had very clear boundaries pretty much with everybody, probably because she always pushed through my boundaries and always had clear boundaries with her, but she couldn't care less. And so it,
Mm.
it was really, really hard to a point that I was like, I called my healer. I was like, Sophia, I need you. Like, tell me you have a program or
Yeah.
something. And she was like, look, I literally just promoting this program. It's a 4 months group program. And I had to work with her. I just,
Mm.
because as much as I'm someone that works on myself, I was so, I felt so trapped because I had moved everything thinking that I was going to stay there for a while and then eventually travel the world and so I almost felt like London was a chapter that was over. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what am I going to do? And so I had to start working
Yeah.
with my healer. And I was as I started working, I started getting clients, but my energy wasn't
Mm-hmm.
where it was before. I wasn't that kind of self-assured person that, like, there was something within me, you could tell, that was
Yeah.
kind of like. And so the people that I was attracting were kind of also people that was always difficult to work with those people, but because that was my energy, I felt such
Interesting.
such yeah, it's like I was climbing a mountain and it was so difficult, but I was like, I'm gonna make
Yeah.
it. And that was the whole feeling of me being there. And I overcame that fear. It took me a lot of courage because I'm my mom wouldn't make would make would make it easy in a way because she would just come at me every single day. She hated the fact that I'm a life coach, that I work from home, that I read cards, that I had crystals, that I had incense, that I would tell people that I would help people. And she confronted me once, and I had just done the second level of Reiki with one of my best friends in Italy. And I remember that the moment I opened the door, after I came back, she went out of her mind, just out of her
Wow.
mind for no reason.
Wow.
And I tried to avoid as much as I could to have an argument with her because that's what I always
Mm-hmm.
did before. Before she couldn't say A, and I would just go at her. And this time I was like, and but one day I just couldn't hold it anymore, and so I don't know what I said to her, and she almost kind of tried to hold me to, I don't know if she wanted to beat me. I held her hands, and I started to look at her in the eyes, and then I said, "I am the light. I am the light," and I started to shout in her face, "I am the light." She was shouting back, "You are evil. You are the devil." And I was like, "I am the light, and I'm bigger than you. I am the light, and I'm bigger than you." And funny as it is, but from that moment, she kind of dialed down a little bit her
Mm.
craziness with me. But what really helped me was finishing working with my healer. And
Yeah.
after that moment, I felt like, okay, I understand that my biggest fear was that she will always sabotage my life because that's what she's always done. And I had never realized how
Mm.
I was almost sabotaging myself into making money for
Yeah.
fear that she would come after me for it. Or that,
Mm.
like if I shine too bright, then she will come
Yeah.
after me somehow, because that's like it's always been
Yeah.
my experience. But even in the small things, like if I was going home for Christmas and my cousins, my and people were like, oh, so how is life in London, people were talking to me a little bit too long for her, she would interrupt us and start bothering us. And it those kind of things that you get so used to that you don't really realize how much they impacted you. But I learned that that was what had stopped me from becoming the even bigger than how I was before I moved to Italy, because I was
Yeah.
unconsciously sabotaging myself. And so after that, I was like, oh, okay, so my job here is done. Thank you, universe, for sending me here. I'm going back to London. And yeah, and so that's what I did. Yeah.
Mm. So I'm curious too, like with the work that, was there anything that you did with your mom? It doesn't sound like there was, but what, I guess, like where was it the acceptance of this is who she is and I can't change who she is? Is that what brought this ability to be able to kind of recognize or heal from that? Like what was it that allowed you to kind of like break free from that?
Yeah, definitely the acceptance is a big part of it. And it helps you when you're working with a healer that has a mother is like yours, because sometimes I will call her and be like, Sophia, or leave her message, Sophia, she just did it. She's like, oh my God, your mom should be your, my mom. And definitely is, this is the thing. Like I had done some work on it, and on a logical level, I knew that that's her path, and she had her
Mhm.
situations and her wounds and her fears. And I know my mom is afraid of a lot of things. Um, and that's her story. And as much as I want to help her because I have the capacity to do it, she doesn't want to be helped. Not from me and not
Mm.
from anybody else. That's like, there is nothing wrong with her.
Right.
Um, it's just the way it is. And so for me was, first of all, accepting that, and therefore accepting that she did everything she could with what she had, and she loved me in the
Mm.
capacity that she needed to love me. And also
Yeah.
realizing that, of course, my soul chose to be here in this family because I had a mission, which I became over time very aware of. But I think there's always an element of, at least for me, an element of, this is too big for me. And
Mm.
so that was another part. And also understanding that, okay, so it's okay, those fears are real, they happened, but you now have the tools, the understanding, and the capacity to release whatever is going on with you, because you're no longer
Yeah.
16 or whatever age. And also, um, the way your mom has treated you over the years has helped you to become a person that is very independent, that has learned to understand that her intuition is powerful, and that from a
Mhm.
certain period of time of her life, this person has stopped making stupid decisions, And so my
Yeah.
my awareness and the person that I have become, and the understanding who I am and what I'm here for, is also because of the way she treated me. And if she had been the
Mm-hmm.
loving mother that I always wanted to have, the supportive mother that would tell you, "Oh my God, this is so great. Please go ahead, go do it." It's never been the case for me, and that always, you don't want me to do it? Okay, let's do it. That's always been me.
Yeah.
Uh, but this behavior helped me to push through so many limitations, society limitations. I'm 41. I don't want children. I'm single, but I'm happy to wait for a person that makes sense. I don't want to be in a relationship just to say that I have a boyfriend or a man next to me, or,
Yeah.
and that goes against my mom's idea of my life, and so everything that I've done in my life has pushed me to push limits because of society, because I'm Italian,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a woman, and all of that. And so,
Yeah.
understanding all of those things and realizing how powerful I am for real of manifesting whatever I want. Because after I finished working with my healer, then there was New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve was super powerful. We had a new moon in Capricorn that day. I was like going crazy, and I started to manifest even more stuff. Like even just then, I was like, "Oh my God, I need to be careful what I say here." And that was because, yeah, and that was because I freed myself from that fear that I would never become successful in the way that for me success is. And I realized,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I can do this. Like
Yeah.
nothing is gonna stop me. Like I'm
Yeah.
capable. I'm good enough. But it's
Mm.
been releasing that emotion, that fear, that thing on a physical level, and not just on a it just like I really felt like so lighter, but also like the conviction within myself that I can do this and that nothing is gonna stop me.
Yeah.
It just went crazy, and I had a few situations when I moved back, and I was like, I don't care, like
Yeah.
this is who I am, like go.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
and yeah.
There's just this like moment where I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, those that are creatives, we were talking about that earlier, but that are just in this space of, yeah, just like creating something for themselves. There's just like this moment where it clicks. I find is from hearing your kind of story, it sounds like there was just this moment where it clicked and you make this decision and things truly change, and then it looks like it's an overnight thing, but it's really not because there's been so many years behind that. But I feel like, and that's also kind of, I don't think that for me personally I've had that moment just yet where I'm like it's clicked and this is it. I feel like there's just these like little moments that are leading up
Mhm.
to it, and it's also the excitement too, that it's like, I guess the excitement, and what I mean by that is more so just like this possibility to look forward to, because I think when you stay on this path and you truly do not give up and you literally keep putting one foot in front of the other, you do the thing and then you do the next thing, like you literally keep going and you don't give up, you're all gonna have, like, we're all gonna have that moment. We're all
Oh
gonna have
yeah.
that moment where things click, and that's where things like really quote unquote like explode, whatever that looks like for us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, I think like in all of the work that I do, so my thing is like doing emotional healing, energy healing, and helping people free
Mm-hmm.
themselves from whatever limitations. And people come to me because, oh, I want to scale my business, but I feel stuck in this. And for me, it's never
Mm-hmm.
the step one, step two, step three, if you do, because I'm not a business coach. It's not like,
Right.
because that's always been my story. Like when I started working with my coach, he was amazing, but I was taking the steps and nothing was happening. Or, oh, this is gonna happen. I was like, it just doesn't work for me. And what I learned is not really the steps. Like you can be there doing all of the things exactly and take all of the courses that you want. But if there is a fear behind that that you cannot recognize,
Mm-hmm.
that is so deep. There is a limiting belief that is there. You don't even know you have it. Maybe you've done some work and something came up. I've done so much work on the fear of success and fear of failure that when I went back and I realized that was my fear, I was like, seriously? Like, couldn't this come up before? But it couldn't come up before because I
Yeah.
moved away from my mother. So who, and this is what
Yeah.
I find when I work with my clients. I always get to a certain point. I'm like, okay, so do you realize this is happening because this happened and this happened and the energy here, it's very similar. And when we do these connections, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize. Oh, then I will tell
Yeah.
you this because if this is this, then my fear of
Mm-hmm.
this is that. I'm like, exactly. Okay, let's clear this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for me the work that is even more important than following the steps. Like, and the reason why
Yes.
I use color therapy and human design is because we're all so different and so unique. And because color therapy is based on your date of birth and I channel information, but I also tell you your personal colors based on the four energies related to it, your life mission, the colors that you need to use, and all of that. And human design tells you so much about how you function and what kind of behavior
Mm-hmm.
you have. And every time I'm like, because I always found myself like, I really hate having to follow those steps. And this is the reason why. And then when I
Yeah.
discovered that I'm a generator and I started to put the things together, I'm like, that's why. Because I don't function
Yeah.
in the way that my coach functions. And so he's doing his best to tell me the best things because he became amazing and made a lot of money and created an amazing community, but
Mm-hmm.
this is not working for me. And this is why I'm like, there is such a uniqueness within each other of us. Once you put your energies and your strengths together and you start to release all the layers and limitations, there is nothing stopping you from achieving what is it that you want.
Yeah.
Nothing. But it's getting to that point, the most difficult part.
And that's a big part too of building a business. And I feel like, especially more so when you are newer into building your business, it's so easy to get wrapped up in investing in the coach. And I think there's absolutely a time and a place to make those investments where, at least on my own personal journey, the things that you want to pay attention to is why you're making the investments that you're making. Like, are you doing it from a place of lack, from a place of like, I need this and this is going to be the thing? Because you will find that, and this is what happens, right? The coach is giving you the system that's worked for them.
Mm-mm.
That's the distinction here. That's like the piece that we need to separate. This is that has worked for them. There might be parts of that system that they've created that will work for you
Yeah.
and might bring you some success. But then there becomes this long term. And if it genuinely doesn't feel good and you kind of like, ugh, I don't want to have to do this, that it's not going to work. No
Yeah.
matter how many times you do it, it's not going to work. And that's where coming back to like taking the advice, taking, okay, this is the system, but also coming back to our own trust and our own and trusting ourselves that we're going to make the best decisions for ourselves and to
Oh
be
yeah.
actually be able to hear ourselves of, this doesn't feel good, but I'm going to try this instead because this feels really good. And trusting ourselves when that's happening in business, that's where things you start to see that your success even becomes almost like a snowball effect, right? It moves faster and faster and faster because of we talk a lot about, like, it's in with human design, right? Your alignment. I'm also
Mm-hmm.
a manigen, so follow my sacral, right? Like, yes, no, following my sacral. Like, even if that's the one piece that I would take away from human design, my life has just become so much easier. Just to
Oh my God,
like
yeah.
that little piece, right? Like that little piece of information. This is how you're meant to make decisions. And things become so much easier when you just create these little micro shifts of alignment. But yeah, like we just it's about coming back home to our own truths and actually
Yeah.
and being okay to try things on and being okay to let things go that just don't feel good or don't work for us.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think the most difficult part is exactly doing that, like going back to yourself. Because if you have learned to not trust yourself, it becomes really
Mm-hmm.
difficult. You know how many times I have clients telling
Yeah.
me, "Oh my God, I love what you do, but I'm not intuitive, I'm not creative." I'm like, okay, let's see that in 6 months' time. And then when slowly we start to open up and I get them to do some certain things and they realize that sometimes people don't even try things. So they don't even know because
Yeah.
it feels like it's something so completely beyond everybody that is like intuition, especially now that it's become mainstream talking about intuition and manifesting and all of that. People are like, oh, it's a woo-woo thing. No, 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 no. It's a thing that everybody has in a different way, one another.
Yeah.
But you feel things too, and you can connect to it, and you can make the right decision for you based on how you learn to understand how your intuition works. And when they do, they're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, I did like, I was having a conversation with my client today. And we're talking about her child. And she said that she went to this woman that she has a 6 year old daughter, and she's really nice. And she had a few problems at school and stuff. And she found this woman that is a child psychologist, and she reads the behavior through the drawings that they do. And so when Mia was 2 years old, apparently she drew, I can't remember what she drew, but my friend is Italian, her husband is Turkish, and they live here. So the child speaks three languages like this. And so the psychologist told her, look, I think Mia was very tired when she was two because she had to learn all these different languages. And it was tiring because her brain had to work so much and it was a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
And then she talked about certain situations at school now. And the psychologist was like, maybe if you take her to a private school, she will be less stressed. And my friend, and so my client went to bed. She was like, so I learned to do this because of you. So I went to bed and I asked, okay, what intuition, what's the best thing that I should be doing for Mia? And so my client has learned working with me that she, aside from the fact that her intuition is crazy, but also her vehicle is dreams, and she visualizes a lot of
Mm.
things. So either she starts meditating and she sees stuff, or she dreams, and animals are very powerful for her. Every time she dreams an animal or something, and so she was like, oh, I asked what I needed to do, and I saw a camel, and so I went to look at the meaning, and I don't need to put her anywhere. She's fine where she is. And I was like, yes,
Wow.
that's it. And it's,
Yeah.
the conviction of her voice when she said, I don't need to do anything. I like that for me
Mm.
was enough. And I trust what I saw because what I saw is my soul telling me you're doing well. And
Mm.
that's something that all of us has. It's just that we don't know how to connect to that part, and we don't know how that part of ourselves communicate with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's so funny. I used to tell myself too. I used to be like, I'm not intuitive. Like I am not an intuitive person. And then and then it's interesting where you start to make these connections and just being able to harness it and to but I think trust is such a big piece about it is trusting what comes up, right? And
Yeah.
not to question it and just trust what comes through, right? Like that's, I find that that's what's been happening as I host circles. I started hosting cacao circles, and it's just so interesting when I just tap into the energy before the circle of what's needed in this circle and what ends up happening and transpiring. And again, like it's pulling me out of my comfort zone because
Hmm.
yeah, it's just pulling me out of my comfort zone, and in the sense of allowing me to tap more into this like feminine side, because I feel like as well, similar, I guess, in a way, with my mom and her raising myself and my sisters by herself, like there was just a lot of masculine energy that
Yeah.
I had to learn, right? Because it's this sense of just like, I have to be independent. I need to, not depend on a man. That's what I learned, right? We start to think
Of
about
course. Yeah.
where we started to learn all these different beliefs. And that's where I think like the work comes from, is just, this is the belief that I have. Where did this belief come from?
Yeah.
And is it true? Right? Like, do I have to?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting too to see how, anyways, like, but yes, like going back to my whole experience with my mom, like it's just, I was so brought up to be more masculine and just make sure that I can take care of myself. And now it's just like I can actually feel safe because I have stability and structure in my partnership and just in my life. It's interesting how now like the feminine is coming through,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
shining as well, and there's this beautiful harmony that's coming between the two. But we do need that, we need both energies. I don't know why this all came up, but I'll leave that there.
It was meant to come up, but look, you need balance to be able to really integrate everything about yourself, because you can't just be in the feminine,
Yeah.
and intuition, it's a very feminine energy. But after you get that intuition or that intuitive thought, you have to take action. Like, it's not just about,
Yeah.
oh, okay, now I know this. Okay, so what's next? What are you going to do with that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the courage then to follow that. So it's
Follow
there,
through.
like courage and trust go together, and courage is very more masculine and trust is more feminine. So it's like, when we
Mm.
cannot balance
Ooh.
ourselves, that's where we are out of alignment. And so you need both of those.
Yeah. That's actually very interesting. I never thought of, or just, yeah, like courage is a masculine, and trust is feminine, and we need both in order
Yeah.
to like just follow through with our intuition, right? And I think what you said
Yeah.
too, it really does. And and we build that trust through that follow through. When you get this like intuitive hit, right? For lack of better words, the smallest little thing, right? The
Yeah.
smallest little thing of, call this person, send this person a message, do this. Like, it doesn't have to be these grand things. And I think in order for us to build up that trust and build up our understanding of how our intuition is communicating with us, it actually starts with these small little things, right? And then you trust yourself enough to use it in, when you're going to buy a home, let's say, for
Yeah. Oh,
example,
yeah.
like then
Oh,
the big
yeah.
things come in.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like,
Yeah.
start with small, because if you think you're not into, aside from the fact that people are like, I'm not intuitive, and then they tell you a story about when they did this to someone else, and I'm like, okay, so then there is some intuition
You
there.
sure?
Okay, let's direct it to you then. But yeah, like, it's like everything. Like, the more you do something, the more you trust yourself. Like, if you go to the gym, it's not that you're gonna have a six pack in a month that you go to the gym, but you will see the result as you continue to go. And the same is with
Mm-hmm.
intuition. Just, I think it's quicker than going to the gym, but like, just start with, like, what kind of book should I read today? With color therapy, oftentimes I'm like, okay, so because you're not intuitive, let's play a game. From now to the next session, I want you every morning to ask yourself, open the wardrobe and ask yourself, I need this energy. What color should I wear? And see where
Mm.
your eyes stop in your wardrobe. And you pick that outfit, that color, whatever it is, you wear it. You go to the meeting, to the client, you go whatever you have to do. And then I want you to write down at the end of the day if that color supported you or not. And then you tell me at the end of the 2 weeks when we have the next session, how did it go? And all the times my clients are like, oh my God, this is amazing. It worked. Sometimes they don't do it often, maybe it's like if they have something special or if they don't have
Yeah.
something special. So just in case, so maybe they do it 3 or 4 times in the 2 weeks time. And they come to me like, oh my God, I did this and that day I was supposed to be doing this. And I wanted that energy, that confidence. And I felt a little bit weird to wear that
Mm.
color because it's really bright, but I did. And I'm like, okay, so this is your intuition telling you what to do. Do it again. And that's the thing for me, inner work doesn't have to be heavy and complicated all the times. I make it fun because I
Mm-hmm.
love having fun. So, like, my clients say that they always laugh with me, because I know how it is to do really, really deep work, and sometimes it is very intense, and I'll guide
Yes.
them through that. But all the other times, like, let's just have fun and learn as we go. And so the more you
Mm-hmm.
do it, the more you're like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna try with food, or I'm gonna try with this and that. And the more you do it for silly things, then you're like, okay, now let's try with a big thing that it actually matters to me and means something really important, and let's see what happens. And once you can trust yourself
Yeah.
there, then it's easier to continue.
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny. I made a video today literally talking about the message was healing also gets to be gentle. It it doesn't have to be this like crumbling of everything around you. It can be the simplest conversation you're having with someone and it just
Yeah,
ah
yeah,
ah here I just made this connection. I just made this connection of why I do this.
yeah,
I understand. That's
yeah,
healing.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
and this
so
is the
beautiful.
thing, luckily we don't have to go through tragedies all the times. you know, Sometimes it's
Yeah.
necessary, but every day can be a day where you heal something of yourself, or learn something of yourself. It
Mm,
doesn't have to be, it's not that it doesn't have to be, it is not like that. And that's
yeah.
why I think a lot of people are scared to do deeper healing. It's because they think, a couple of times I heard people say, I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to be unfolded, and I'm scared. I'm
Yeah.
like, but maybe nothing, because maybe, your soul cannot yet handle something deeper. So we're
Mm-hmm.
just going to stay up to the surface until you're ready to go down. By the time you're ready to go
Mm-hmm.
down, you're ready. So it's not going to feel as big as you think
Exactly.
it is, but you have to have the courage to want to change your life in that way.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. So you've shared so much, and I know you do a lot of work around this and also with color therapy. So I'd love for you to just share like where people can connect with you in case they're curious of diving more into color therapy or just the other work that you do. I'd love for you to just share as we wrap up some of the things that you have going on.
Okay, so thank you so much. So you can find me on my website, theintuitionqueen.com, and you can find there some free stuff. At the moment, I'm going to be doing distant Reiki for free for the new moon. So if you sign up, the only thing that you need to do is just sign up, and I'll do the rest. I'll connect on a specific time. You will get an email where I tell you exactly how it's going to work. There is nothing that you need to do. Just stay connected if you can connect at that time, which will be GTM time. But if you're sleeping or you're working, you can continue to do whatever you want to do. I'll tune into the energy to elevate each and every one of us and the collective. And then you can join my Facebook group, Soulful Success. So, so I just changed the name, but Soulful Success Blueprint.
Okay. Love
And
it.
you get to have live three times a week where I do channeling on a Monday. I talk about human channeling and color therapy on a Monday, human design on a Wednesday, and I do live about every kind of topic on a Friday. Do some coaching, whatever, channeling, whatever happens, and then in between, depending on what's going on, I'll add stuff. But normally I decided to do those 3 days so then I know I can stick to some sort of routine. Otherwise, I'm all over the place. But also because there is so much that I want to share, and I kind of had to structure myself in a way that doesn't confuse people. Yeah, and then you can find me on Instagram as the Intuition Queen. You can listen to my podcast, Intuitive Queen's Podcast, and that's pretty much everywhere.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I will leave links and everything below so everyone can connect with you. I am so grateful for you and for this conversation. Yeah, it was such a beautiful dive into, journeys and also just like healing and how that really does connect to us being able to connect more with our own intuition. So I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for jumping
Amazing.
on with me.
Thank you so much.
Aw. Thank you for listening. Make sure to leave a review and continue the conversation with me over on social media. And we'll see you in the next episode.